Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian, and we're at the Air Force Association's headquarters in Northern Virginia, where we are in the coolest office in the world, especially if you're anybody who loves aircraft. It is the office of my very good friend Doug Birkey, who's the Executive Director of the Mitchell Institute. Doug, thanks very much.
No, thanks for coming over today. Appreciate it. And this is either a large pawn shop or junk collection or sort of museum, depending on your angle on it.
I look at it as a museum of pure historical treasures, and this is one of the places where you don't know where to start. But let's start at the really cool ejection seat that Doug built brick by brick, part by part. Talk to us a little bit about the seat, how you put it together, and how you got this crazy idea of collecting it.
Yeah. So this is an ejection seat out of an F-4 Phantom, which is a Vietnam-era fighter airplane. And frankly, this all started as a mistake. I saw it for sale in a listing, and I didn't understand how complex the Martin Baker seat was. So I said, gee, that's a really good price for the seat and all that. And a little tiny piece, this base, shows up in a box one day. I'm like, where's the rest of it? Is there another box that got lost in shipping? So it took about 4 years to collect all the pieces to make it complete. Various sources all over the country, and it's a D model that it came out of predominantly, and saw combat in Vietnam, stationed over in Germany, ended up its time with the Vermont Air National Guard.
Wow.
And then went to Davis-Monthan, and back at the time where they were deaccessioning things, the main components drifted out. But one of the cool things about this job is we get a lot of aerospace leaders coming by the office. And if I know an individual has time with the F-4, either flying it with the design or sustaining it, I've had them sign it. And so on the parachute case, you're going to see a lot of names here. You got General Paul Hester, who's PACAF, Charles McGee, who most know as a Tuskegee Airman. Absolutely. He flew RF-4s in Vietnam, believe it or not. You've got the Martins, the family members on it. General John Jumper, former chief, is there. Dick Hawley, former ACC commander.
Absolutely.
Speedy Martin. So now really happy about this. It's a great centerpiece for conversation. It's good for staff reviews if there are some morale problems. You have somebody sitting this tight, a rope to the handle. But
for any law enforcement, it's a completely demobbed seat, so there's no issue with charges going off, despite the humorous comment by Doug over there.
It's also amusing too. You get some of these general officers walking by who have time in this, and they'll immediately come in and brings back a lot of memories. And they'll sit in it. About 10 minutes into it, General, I got some work to do. Could we be moving along, please? But no. One thing I'm really, really proud of, I've managed to collect a lot of books from some of the key people in air power. And when I look for these, I really try to get ones that are signed. And so here's an example of one. Hap Arnold and Ira Aker wrote 3 books prior to World War II to really promote air power and a general understanding of it. And so if you look at this, it's signed by both of them.
Wow.
And so it's something that you've got to dig around, but eventually you can find stuff. I have a waist gun and ammunition box. This is actually out of my family's collection. My grandparents had that, and somebody was going through things and ran across it, but obviously the front page for Lindbergh. And then we've got B-25 throttle quadrant here, signed by 2 of the Doolittle Raiders, Dick Cole, who's now the sole living individual,
yeah, absolutely.
And Tom Griffin. We did an event with Mitchell for the 25th anniversary of Desert Storm, and obviously the F-117 represents that campaign. And so I grabbed the model and had all of our key speakers sign it. So you've got everybody from General Deptula to Secretary Rice to General Horner. This is interesting. Hap Arnold, when he was in Fort Leavenworth stationed there, he had a child that was having a really hard time learning how to read. And Arnold wrote a series of stories for him that are basically actually autobiographical, and they're adventure books, kind of the air version of Hardy Boys. And he actually had them commercially published, and they're decently successful. But this one is signed by Arnold. And it's really neat because if you read the inscription, he's actually referring to his autobiography coming out. And he refers to, there's another book coming out shortly. So this came out of a source in Colorado and just arrived yesterday, actually, in the mail. But brand new F-86 leading edge, and it's a fun thing. I mean, when I look at all these, again, it's back to the history it represents, and when you think about the importance of air superiority and really what went on in Korea in establishing that early on in the jet age. When I look at something like that, I mean, it's just all the lessons and the human connection to it. It means a lot.
Jets combined with machine guns, right?
Yep.
650 caliber machine guns in the nose, which was
exactly.
definitely sporty when it came to closing with the targets.
This came out of another West Coast collection, and the coolest thing about it, obviously, it came from a unit that's actually inlaid wood with the Air Corps symbol, and then the wings, which are really from the early 20s is when that was.
And you think that's a DH-4?
It probably
from
is.
A de Havilland DH-4.
Yeah, the size and all of that. But I'd imagine that was probably at their unit, up on some mantle or something like that.
Walk us through some of these models, because some of them are very, very cool and original factory models, including one that is, two of them that are exceptionally rare ones. So
yeah. Now, over the years, picked up a bunch of different models, and some of them, my favorites, are actually the original Contractor models. So this is an original X-15 model that North American made, and it's neat. You can see their insignia there. Some of them, too, are just interesting if you look at the markings. So that's a YF-17, basically, that Northrop at the time was pitching to the Dutch, and obviously did not win that competition.
Now, you also have an autographed Predator.
You got it. Well, when you work for General Deptula, you're talking to somebody that really helped define an entirely new way of projecting power through the air. So I had to have him sign the Predator model for what that really represents in revolutionizing how we go about warfare now.
This is such a great story. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Army Air Forces cover and the Distinguished Flying Cross?
Yeah. Growing up, a close neighbor turned out to be a B-24 ball turret gunner and 7th Air Force, and became very close with he and his wife, like grandparents. And as time went by, he gave me all of his uniforms, his A2 flight jacket, and this hat, which is obviously part of his uniform. And he passed away a few years ago. And about the last year of his life, he referenced that he really should have gotten the Distinguished Flying Cross, and there's a paperwork error, and he never really cared about it. But as he was nearing the end of his life, he wanted it. And so I worked with the congressional delegation to try to secure that for him and track down all the right records and all of that. And he was not doing well. He was in a nursing home. His health was failing very rapidly. And we were able to push it through and get it approved, and got the medal, and I FedExed it out to the nursing home where he was at, to the director, and the director walked it down the hall, showed it to him. He was able to see it, and sadly the next day passed. But pretty incredible the timing that we were able to do that, and he really got to see it at the end. But one of those individuals that very key for me growing up, shaping who I was and all of that.
That's an extraordinary story, and what a great gesture on your part to have a war hero recognized before he passed.